Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining us for Dove Talks. Today, we have the fortune of meeting with two of our therapy leaders, Kayla and Emily. They're going to give us a deeper look into protective factors and how they impact youth and adults. Recently, looked at some data with well over 160 clients, I think, that we surveyed about their protective factors. But maybe for those of us that aren't experts in therapy and mental health, tell us a little bit more about what a protective factor is, Kayla, and why we should care about it as mental health experts.
Yeah, absolutely. So, historically, we've really looked at the ACEs, those adverse childhood experiences, and whether it's like substance use in their home or mental illness in their home, sexual abuse in the home, or experiences with sexual abuse. So there's been just this real focus on those negative experiences that people have had while they've also experienced their trauma. So in the past couple of years, we've switched that into what are some of those protective factors that have been more of those positive experiences. And those are something that can really help with that resiliency piece for people that have really experienced trauma and really bad negative things in their lives, yet there was some positives that maybe help them pull out of that. And so we have 7 questions of protective factors that we ask our adults during our intakes. Some of those questions include, did you have 2 non-parent adults in your life that took genuine interest and care about you? Could you talk to your family about feelings? Did they get support in high school, throughout their high school and younger years from friends and family, and kind of what that looked like?
How about the findings? They're pretty interesting,
Yeah.
actually.
Yeah, so like I said, we have 7 questions that we ask our adults. And in the past year or so, we looked at 160 of our clients that answered these questions. Like 57% of the clients felt that they were safe and protected in their home. 68% of the adult clients said that they had at least 2 of those non-parent caregivers that really took that genuine interest in them. And then 47% of clients said that they could actually talk about feelings.
So, are we looking for a certain number of yeses on the questions? Like, if someone answers positively on 6 of the 7, is that better, good? Is there something specific that indicates to us, oh, this is something we can build on?
There have been times where if clients have more yeses than nos with those, like that's really something that therapists can just talk about and praise, even that you had all these negative things happen, you've had X amount of ACEs, but you also had X amount of protective factors too that really helped you through that childhood and to become that adult that you really are now.
I love that. So, how about our youth? It's hard to even explain a protective factor to a kiddo, but how does that impact children, protective factors, having that in their life, especially if they're dealing with domestic violence or sexual assault?
Yes, surveys and things like that. We do, need to get parent permission and things. We use a survey called the Developmental Assets Profile, which really does look at similar things as protective factors, but they're looking at both internal assets that kids have and experience and external. So that can include things like sense of identity, things that are internal like that, and then external things like, do we have family support? Do we have support in our schools and within the community? Do we have a friend that we can trust? So we look at some similar things with kids. At CVIC, we really are strengths-based, where we try to see what people have inherently in them that has helped them get through hard times, because people that we work with have been through a lot and they've survived. The people that we're working with have really thrived in a lot of situations, so really tapping into that and encouraging people, letting them know even what they have inside of them that they might not have even thought about before.
How does that play out in a therapy session then? Like, if a kiddo has, one of these protective factors, how would you maybe parlay that to a session? What would that look like?
Really just seeing where the kiddo is and what those protective factors might be. And that's a part of our intake process. We're still going to ask kids, like, who do you turn to? Who do you have in your life right now? And definitely working with kids to see how they can utilize those protective factors. So if there is a trusted person at school, what might that look like? Do you feel like you can go to the school counselor's office? So really trying to see what's in place already that we can tap into. And then on the flip side, if there are some protective factors that might be lacking, then we can really target that in our work with them. In general, though, when kids have experienced trauma, including domestic violence or sexual assault, that can have an impact on the way that they perceive the world and the way that their brains kind of work, because they might go into develop some patterns to try to protect themselves. So that might look like having a fight or flight response when something happens at school that's sort of triggering for them. And we can work with them in that too, of what kind of protective factor, for example, a coping skill, can we try to incorporate in that next time you start to feel that coming on. I also want to put out there that if kids or adults have experienced violence, that it's not on them because they didn't have enough protective factors. That this isn't something where it's like, do this and then everything should be fine. It's a great thing to look at, and it's really important. I just want to put that out there too, that there's no shame if there's an area that's lacking. That's just an opportunity for us to keep bolstering things up.
Big picture question for you, Kayla, is how do you think this will inform, you think about a big audacious vision trying to end violence in 2 generations. If we can continue to gather this information, how it might inform, partners or collaborators as we work to, because of course the Safer Tomorrow Job is not just CVIC, it's our partners, our donors, our volunteers.
It is a community-wide issue and concern, and something that our community can support. 6 to 8 hours of the day, children are not in their parents' care. And so, are you able to reach out to your teacher? Do you trust your teacher to talk about some of these other things with them? Do you have a school counselor that you can talk about these things with them? We hear of that term of it takes a village to raise kids and raise a family. And I think that village for some people can be the community, it can be the school, it can be whoever else is just a part of people's lives.
I think if I understood right, the typical trauma load for therapists, would be 25%. You and your teams are doing well into the 90s percent of trauma. But what keeps you plugged in to the work?
Yeah, for me, it's definitely thinking about our mission to end violence in 2 generations. As a parent, I think ending violence and ensure that my kids are going to have a safe environment, a safe place to be, a safe place to live in the community. That's what's important for me.
I see a big need for safe adults who listen to kids. Kids are literally our future. They are amazing. They're fun. They're funny. They're creative. I love working with kids. They give me so much. But just, can we give back to them? Can we be there for them and their families? Just invested in the work. I'm very passionate about it. And just so grateful that our entire CVIC team works for, as Kayla mentioned, that same goal, that same mission, to be there for folks and to hopefully make it as safe as possible, this world as safe as possible for everyone that we can.
Yeah, we learn a lot from these little ones, don't we?
Yeah.
Sometimes I'm like, I have so much to learn from a 3-year-old.
Yes.
Just listen more.
Yes. And I think it's such a privilege and an honor to be in a space where people bring their all and bring those moments that they're at such a low in their lives, and being able and willing to listen and be that person for them is an honor, and it's a privilege that to be in that space with them, to share some of their most vulnerable pieces of their life, I think is important.
Well, I'm so grateful to both of you. I appreciate your leadership and so appreciate you both being here.
Thank you.
Thank you.